Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Faces Behind the Spaces. I'm so excited to introduce this next guest to you guys because I have so much value and heart aligned. I just feel like our paths are so similar, but from a distance, and we don't really know how those fully align yet. But she does such incredible work that so many more people, and especially women, need to know about. So, before I introduce my first guest, let's give you a little background of her. Sandra Dubas is a self care coach, speaker, retreat leader, and founder of Self Care Bootcamp, the Self Care Sanctuary, and the Self Care Compass. Through retreats, workshops, coaching, and sacred community experiences, she helps women who have spent years holding everything together stop abandoning themselves inside their own lives. Her work guides women to create soul nourishing, I love that, soul nourishing, self-care without guilt, rebuild self-trust, and learn how to navigate back to themselves again and again. And the main key takeaway that I love is that she says, the message I hope all listeners will have today is that self-care is not what you do to escape your life. It is how you learn to stop abandoning yourself inside of your life. Mm-hmm. I love that so much. Welcome to Faces Behind the Spaces, Sandra.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, Sandra, what I like to talk a lot about in Faces Behind the Spaces is kind of the space that we were in when we decided to birth what our business or what our next project in life or even just a next phase in life is. So I'm kind of curious, what was the space that you were in that kind of got you into this space of, oh, I need to share what I have learned through my journey of self-care with other women because I know that we all are struggling with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a self-care coach.
Yeah, no, it's never that way usually.
No, it's been a journey and it's been an evolution, and the work that I'm doing has evolved just based on, the information I receive from the women that I work with and also from my own journey.
Yeah.
And so, I think back and I think, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I was maybe in the height of my corporate career, the me that now is nothing like the woman that I was then. Mm-hmm. And I told somebody recently, I don't think I showed up as my true authentic self for the first probably 40 years of my life.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Nebraska. I wanted to get out of that small town and get into the business world and wear a business suit and carry a briefcase and make a lot of money and get a house and a car and a husband and kids. And that was
check, check, check.
Yeah. And I did all of those things. And I found myself in a place where I really wasn't fulfilled, but I had no clue. I didn't have a dream or any other thing. Mm-hmm. And when my children were born, my youngest daughter had severe medical condition. And so, life became very challenging, navigating all of her medical needs and trying to hold a corporate career. And, I put a mask on every day and showed up and told the world I was fine, but I wasn't. And, I didn't eat healthy. I didn't exercise. I didn't have friendships and relationships outside of work. Yeah. And I didn't take care of myself. And, I kind of describe what my typical day used to look like. Excuse me. And, it was getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym and work out and then come home and get ready for work and grab a scone and a latte in the drive-thru on the way to the office and sit on conference calls and in meetings all day long, skipping lunch, maybe at 3 o'clock, wandering over to the vending machine to just put something so that, just so that I wouldn't be hungry. Yeah. But it wasn't nourishment. It was just whatever. And I probably didn't stop to go to the bathroom
until you're leaving
or drink water or right. And then I would leave the office at 6 o'clock and go home and spend a little time with my family and then open a bottle of wine, pull out the laptop, work for a few more hours, go to bed, So I would brag about, and as did all the other women I worked with, we bragged about how little sleep we got. We bragged about how busy we were. We bragged about how little time we had for ourselves. We bragged about we bragged about the things that like
We never want to brag about again. That's
no.
like, I feel like this is like a collective shift because
yes.
we are starting to experience, and I think specifically for myself, health, like I couldn't hide my symptoms anymore because it was literally autoimmune condition after autoimmune condition.
Same for me.
And yeah, and that's a whole nother story we got to get
Yes,
into
yeah.
too. But I hear the word now alignment, and that's why I have a 3 tattooed in my hand because people hear that word just like you hear, like, I didn't really fully know myself. And they're like, what does that
Yes.
mean? And it's basically like, oh, I thought I needed to hustle. I thought I needed to do to get the things that I really feel most fulfilled in. And it's so literally not the opposite. Like, obviously, inspired action is so important, but I can relate. My 20s was all of that. And then I turned 30 and I was like, I don't want to live this way anymore. And that's how this all came about. But I think specifically what's so cool is that like you're kind of the trailblazer right now in this sector because women, I feel like it's harder for them at, once you have kids and you're married to switch into a completely different direction because now you feel responsible for your family and you feel responsible for the years and years built up that you created in those careers. And so at least I didn't have a family, so like it was a little easier for me to just be like, I'm doing whatever I want now because I'm tired of abandoning myself in my life. So like I really applaud you for that because not a lot of women know even where to begin with that.
Right.
So when did you officially say like, wow, I not only did this transform my life, but now I want to transform other women's lives because I know that most of them are battling this.
Yeah. So you asked me, like what was the turning point that, that I found my way into the work that I'm in. And so, it started for me when I reached a point where my health was really starting to suffer. And I mean, I had no idea the extent of what was going on, but the clue to me was that I started losing hair. I started having patches of hair that was falling out. And, when I first went to the dermatologist, they're like, oh, it's probably just stress. Let's give you some cortisone shots. It'll grow back. You'll be fine. And this just continued to progress over the years to the point where I knew that it was, it wasn't just stress. And so I started doing my own research. I went to a functional medicine doctor, had a bunch of blood work done, and she literally gave me a list. I came home and showed my husband, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like
Scary.
adrenal burnout and, like this whole list, like my body on the inside was just like on fire.
Yeah.
And, nobody would have known. I mean, I didn't look sick. I was really good at hiding the hair loss. But my body on the inside was really angry.
Yeah.
And so that became sort of the turning point for me personally. And I knew that I needed to, take care of myself nutritionally and stress and exercise. And then I found my way into a yoga teacher training program. I signed up for it only because I thought this will help me be accountable. If I pay for this and I sign up for it, then I'm going to immerse myself in it. And this is going to help me from, a stress management standpoint.
Yeah.
That was really the turning point because I realized how much it helped me.
Yeah.
And I began to be aware of the choices I was making, the places in which I was burning myself out, abandoning my body, abandoning what I wanted. And I really kind of started to wake up.
Yeah.
And so once I got my yoga teaching certification, I had this idea, and I called it Self-Care Boot Camp.
Yeah.
And I just started hosting these like little mini workshops in my home. And it would be like 3 hours. I'd get, 15 women to come to my basement. We would do yoga, we would do meditation, journaling, some sort of craft project. We'd sit around and drink tea and talk.
I love it.
And what I began to recognize is, number one, women don't take the time. They're craving connection with other women.
Yeah.
They're craving time for themselves. And also what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another.
Yeah.
So I began to try to incorporate like little mini doses of different kinds of self-care tools and techniques.
Yeah.
With the goal that if a woman comes and finds one thing that not only can she experience in this moment, but that she can take home with her and maybe incorporate into her day-to-day life. So, journaling has become, it's a huge passion of mine. It's very therapeutic for me to journal. And so it just grew and it evolved. Excuse me. And
for the journaling, I actually did my third episode because I said I have 3. I did a whole episode on journaling, basically, and how my whole life changed when I would start writing 3 things I was grateful for every morning, 3 intentions, and then 3 things I truly loved about myself, because that felt so weird at first. Like, I was like, this feels like yucky. Like, that was like it was so much resistance, but then I knew like that resistance was something I needed to pull into.
Yes.
And now I have like 20 journals, and it's fun to go back and look and like you'll like click, like open a random page from a random journal, and you're like going through something in your life and you're like, oh my gosh, like past me is talking to future me now.
Yes.
Or I was in that same situation then, and I look at all the good things that have happened since then.
Right.
So I can get through this now. Like, I'm a huge advocate for journaling.
Right. Or you look back and you think, oh my gosh, I'm still complaining about the same things I was complaining about 2 years ago. Maybe that's a sign that I need to
data.
make a change.
Literally.
Yeah. I actually like to do my journaling in the form of prayer every day. So it's like I'm, speaking to God in my journal and sharing all the things I'm grateful for and the things I'm struggling with, and then asking for guidance and support. And that's just what really works for me.
Mine's like when I try to solve things in my head, and I'm like, I can't keep being in my head, or they say like sometimes if you're too in your head, you're dead. So like, if for me to get back into my body, I'm just like, I surrender. How would you use me? Like, I'm a vessel for you in this moment, because I can't figure this out on my own. When I've tried, I've burned myself out. Yeah.
So speaking of being in your head, one of the most popular activities that I've done in all of the programming that I've been doing now since like 2018, I think that I started leading events, is I call it the brain drain. And it is a journaling activity. I play, and you could do this at home.
Okay.
I play like waterfall, rain, kind of like water music sound.
That's what I fall asleep to.
And I encourage everybody to just grab blank pieces of paper and literally just start draining your brain. Just write uncontrollably. No, don't worry about punctuation, spelling, just whatever random weird stuff comes to your mind. It could be your grocery list, your to-do list, what's bothering you today, what you're grateful for, your hopes, your dreams,
anything.
Business, whatever is just like in your head.
Yeah.
You just start pouring it out onto the paper.
Yeah.
And I've like, that has been such a powerful exercise. Cool. And what I find is that, I think this is especially true for women, we just carry a lot around in our heads.
Yeah.
And especially if you have people in your life that you're responsible for, whether you have children or aging parents or people that work for you, or customers, whoever that is. We spend a lot of time emotionally thinking, planning, strategizing, preparing,
overthinking what that conversation was. Did I present that right? Is my client like, that was the biggest thing where I decided to start a business, because I felt like I was in such a good space within myself that I was no longer ruminating over conversations or, second guessing myself. But then it was like, oh, but I am still so worried on making that customer experience perfect.
Right.
Perfect. Because that's what, it's my soul, it's my life work that I was doing for these people, and interior design, it's the most intimate part of their life. It's their home. So I really was like so shocked, because I said yes to the calling, and I'm like, oh, it's a calling. It's just gonna, it's gonna, I'm saying yes to God, so things are going to go great. And it's like, no, your callings are not your comfort zones. And you're going to be faced with all of the shadows that you thought you worked, because it's like entrepreneurship is self development on crack, I swear. Like, you just get told, you get all of your wounds exposed, or your shadows parts.
Right.
It's more than I can really, unless you start a business, it's hard to put into words, because it's different than working for someone else either, because you can at least kind of put it down for the day a little bit. So how do you find that balance? One thing that I love that you do is two things that are very near and dear to my heart is you create spaces for women. And right now I'm also working at Legacy Collective, which is a space for women. And I'm noticing just like how much they're working there and how much, it's like after work, then they're still working and grabbing a drink. And that's totally like, at least they have a nice space to do it. But we have a quiet lounge. And I'm like, I want every woman that comes through that door to go in the quiet lounge for at least 10 minutes and do a quick meditation and then come back out and work. But obviously, I can't tell people how to function their time there. But so I'm noticing it's something that's still not very common for women to actually prioritize, even after prioritizing themselves. So they think in a space, and that's why they're there. So yeah, what's been like your favorite space that you've created? You said it started at your home, but I know that you've also done Sunlit Retreat as some of the places. Share kind of like what you've done that you've loved and some upcoming ones that you have planned.
Yeah. So interestingly, I started in my home, and then we had a little pandemic come along, and it wasn't really appropriate to like
Bring people
invite
in.
a bunch of people
Yeah.
into your home.
Unfortunately.
So I kind of put it on pause. I actually went back into the corporate workforce for a few years, and kind of found myself sitting there, after putting my passion on the shelf, and I kind of found myself sitting there one day behind 3 computer screens, just like I had this like literal download, almost like I was looking down at myself, and it was just like, Sandra, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
How'd we get back here,
right,
kind of?
like, and so I found myself, leaving that job and deciding it's time to get back to my passion. And so I got real involved with Women with Voices, your mom, Sandy, and just had some really life-changing kind of aha moments that came about. And I followed the tug in my heart that said, you got to get back to it. So I started renting spaces and doing the self-care boot camp. And what I began to hear was, this is awesome, Sandra. Like a 3-hour evening event is it felt so great to just, escape my life for a little while and just have this time to myself. But it wasn't long enough.
Yeah.
Like, could you do a day or could you do a weekend? So I'm like, oh, okay. I have no idea how to do a weekend retreat, but I was in this era where I just felt really brave. And I feel like fear had always stopped me from doing things in the past. And I just really decided I'm going to lean into the fear and have fear be my partner instead of my enemy. And I'm just going to go forward. So I started hosting weekend retreats. And thus far, I've hosted 6 weekend retreats at Sunlit Retreat Center. And, each one has had a specific theme. And the women that come are, a unique group every time, but every single time I feel like the group bonds and just has this really special experience.
It's always like divine timing, I feel like. I've realized that, especially like with Women with Voices, it was so cool. Because I would kind of come in and out, obviously. I was like busy in my corporate life at that time, and it's my mom, and we already see enough of each other sometimes. But then I would like see the stories that were shared, and my mouth would just like drop every time. And I think that's the power of community, which like what you're building and what these other groups in Omaha are blessed to have is so many people feel disconnected. And this, like you said, you were feeling scared, and it's like, you don't understand that is like your courage waiting to be known. And when you have a good community around you, then you can actually feel like you can move forward and not feel like you have to do it alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of like the backstory around the fear and kind of how I really just leaned into that. And your mom was, I feel like, a big part of this, even though she wasn't there. So we were talking about autoimmune conditions. So I have an autoimmune condition called alopecia. I've actually lost all my hair.
Showing it's so, you can't even tell. It's like gorgeous, but
it's real human hair. I always say it's my hair. It just doesn't grow out of my head. But so it's been like a 18-year journey of hair loss, from the time that my girls were really little. I have 2 daughters that are now in their 20s. And so I spent a lot of time hiding and feeling very ashamed. And, especially working in the corporate realm, I just, image was really important. And so nobody ever knew that I was hiding all of this, and honestly, like hiding a lot of emotional baggage along with that too. And so I had this amazing experience on a boat in Greece where I had a choice to make to sit on the boat and stay covered up so that the other people on the boat wouldn't see my baldness,
Yeah.
or just take it all off and jump in the water and swim with my daughter. And, you know, the thing that was like the catalyst for me in that moment, and I've really tried to lean into this over and over and over again, is I asked myself the question in that moment, what would I regret more?
Yeah.
Will I regret sitting here on the boat and not having this experience? Will I look back and regret, like, oh, why didn't I get in and swim? Or will I regret having these people see that I don't have hair and get in the water and swim?
Yes.
And I chose to get in the water and
love
swim.
that
And
so
it was
much.
just this feeling of liberation. And then I came home from that trip and I started speaking. I spoke at one of the Women with Voices events for the first time, took my wig off in front of an audience. And then in the beginning, it was really, really hard. But what I began to realize is, as women especially, we're all wearing masks.
Oh, yeah.
There's something that we're trying to hide from the outside world that's an insecurity, or it might be body image or weight or some shame from our past, or there's these things that
All of the above.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's these things that we don't want people to know. And for me, the wig and taking it off and allowing myself to be that vulnerable, I feel like is a permission slip for other women to be able to also be honest with themselves, find their truth, find their authenticity. And so we do a lot of that kind of work at the retreats that I lead. I mean, they're not a vacation. I mean,
That kind of feels, I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't been to one
fun.
yet. I do want to go.
They're fun and they're relaxing, and we do yoga and we do meditation and we we do a lot of really fun things, but we do some soul work
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And so what I started to then hear from the weekend retreats was, oh gosh, Sandra, this is so amazing, but like, what am I going to do when I go home?
How do I move? Like, what do I like?
Yeah.
It's like you almost have this like feeling of grief for a second. 'Cause you're like, I'm
Yes.
open to this whole new world, but how? I don't know how to integrate this in my
I don't
life.
know how to integrate this in my life. I've never felt this way before. It
Yep.
feels amazing. And for some women, they may have circumstances at home that are prohibitive
Yeah.
for them to feel the way they felt when they were away from it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my point about, I want to teach women how to practice self-care in a way that you're not escaping your life.
And you can actually build within it what you need.
Yes.
Not what you feel like you need to perform for.
You're honoring your body. You're embodying the feeling of self-care, the relationship you have with yourself
Yeah.
when you're practicing soul-nourishing self-care.
You know what's funny is that I don't even know if I've shared this with a lot of people, but I became so in tune with my environment when I really did deep work on my nervous system
Yes.
and nervous system regulation. And then I would try to like help people, but people, you can't, it's either change people or change people. Like you try to change people,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier sometimes just to change people. And one thing I did realize was that, I was good at design because I was able to be present in a space. And I was able to use what my trauma used to be and be able to fix things right away. And then I realized it's a lot easier to try to have people want to change their home versus themselves first.
Yes.
But it's like, I wish I could so badly just like preach to the choir of like, hey, I can tell you where these problems are coming from. And it's because you are not giving what you need. You're giving it to everyone else, or you're trying to use people to get that from what you need from them without even realizing it. And so if you create a space where like you feel inspired or you feel relaxed or you feel at ease or you feel like this future version of yourself because you actually have things that are aligned with how you want to
Yes.
feel. I love in your quiz how we talked about the color thing
Yes.
and, color. And so it's just, I didn't know how to go in the self. I don't think I could be a coach for learning how to like do the soul nourishing work. So I would probably be impatient, but I did the next thing of making sure that there was a space where they could do it in.
Yes, and I'm sure that you run into this with people in designing their spaces, is because I remember doing this myself. I remember, when we built one of our homes and I hired a designer to help me decorate, and you know, and it was all about decorating it based on the trends.
Yeah, and I hate
And what
that
I
so
saw
much.
other people doing, and we had gone to like a Street of Dreams, and so we bought some of the artwork.
I remember you telling me that
Yes.
you hated your art.
Yes,
at my
we
mom's
bought all this
retreat.
expensive artwork
Yeah.
and these rugs and all this stuff because it was like, well, it's in the Street of Dreams, you know, and so, but it was not personal to me.
Yeah.
And now my home, if you walk in, people will walk in and go, oh yeah, this, like, Sandra
That's-
lives here. Like,
yep.
this is totally, it's got, you know, her like brand all over it. And so I think of self-care the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times, you know, we call things self-care. And I've been thinking about this recently, and I'm thinking a lot of the things we call self-care are actually like hygiene.
Literally.
You know,
It's like self-discipline, but I like to call discipline devotion now. Like devotion to ourselves versus devotion to
Yes.
serving
Yeah.
the world. I mean, that's how you best serve the world is by serving
Yes.
yourself. Yeah.
But you think of, so like we think of self-care as like, oh, I've got to get out of my house. I've got to get away from my kids. I've got to escape. I'm going to go get my nails done, or, you know, maybe I'm going to go to a yoga class. But the real question becomes, what is the relationship you're having with yourself when you're doing the thing?
Yeah.
The thing that you're calling self-care isn't self-care if you're experiencing it in a way that you feel ashamed or you're not getting joy out of it. And that's why I say, if it's not nourishing your soul, it could be nourishing your body. It could be helping your bones and your muscles if you're exercising. But we do so much of the things because we are used to doing that sometimes self-care is just like taking a beat
Yeah.
and going outside and sitting in nature and breathing.
That's literally what I did
And
last
it
night.
doesn't cost a dime.
It's literally you kind of have to sit with those feelings too.
Yes.
Instead of escape them.
Yes.
But I'm so sad because I could talk to you for like 2 more hours and we're almost out of time.
Yes.
But how can people get a hold of you and tell them of like some upcoming events that you have? We have 30 seconds.
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so I have a retreat coming up September 25th through the 27th. It's called Wanderlust, and it's going to be all about like self-care. If you go to my website, SandraDubas.com, you can take a self-care quiz, and you can look at my
so
self-care
cool.
sanctuary and all of my events and the self-care compass and all the things that I do.
Yes. And then your email, or how would they just go to your website and they
Yep,
can
go to my
inquire
website.
there?
There's a form that you can fill out there.
And anyone outside of Omaha too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I now have a lot of virtual programs and an online community
Okay.
where I load breath work and meditations and all kinds of little self-care practices that you can just plug in
Yeah.
when you need an emergency reset.
So cool. Look at that. And we're there.
Perfect timing.
Well, thank you everybody for coming to this episode, Faces Behind the Spaces. We are so happy that you're listening. Thank you so much, Sandra, for coming on Faces
Thank
Behind
you
the
for
Spaces
having me.
today. You bet. It's so cool because usually it's like you and my mom in the chair, and this time it's like I get a little piece of that. So I feel very blessed. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.